Welcome back to Riella's Army of Dolls. Today we're going to explore the absolute must-haves for any budding doll collector out there. In front of you, I've assembled everything I think is absolutely essential for the basics of collecting dolls. This is especially true if you're getting older vintage dolls, but even modern dolls, you're going to need to make some small adjustments and just clean them up in certain ways. So some of these are pretty obvious, others might need a little bit of explaining. You'll see I put two pairs of scissors, not just one. So my scissors here, the first one, these are special sewing scissors. It's important to have these because if you do need to be chopping off any threads, any little bits that are hanging off clothing, you want some scissors that are going to make a nice clean cut, not just basic ones. Otherwise you may pull things, you may actually make the damage worse. Secondly, some more basic scissors. Doesn't really matter what they are, but you're going to use these ones for opening boxes, for cutting ribbons or plastic ties that hold the dolls in, and things like that. If you've never tried a fray stop, especially if you're someone who does any sewing, this is a must-have with dolls. I particularly like this brand. I've actually chosen the Aleen's one on purpose because one warning I'll give about fray stops is that a lot of them are actually quite toxic, whereas the Aleen's one is non-toxic. And I order that one especially for it. What you do with this is if there is a rough edge of any doll clothing, you just pop a tiny bit of this fray stop on it. Acts like a glue, but it's still flexible, so you can still use the doll's clothes, they can still wear it, but you've just stopped the damage from getting any worse. Just do be careful not to use too much because it can stain the clothing if you use too much. Pretty straightforward is to make sure you've got some needle and thread. Even if you are a person who can't stand sewing, do have something on hand. In particular, for example, if the snap closure falls off a piece of clothing or something like that, that just means you can reattach it. You don't need to do anything more with it if you are not confident about that. I've also just shown here that I've got black and white thread there. Now my opinion is that anybody can get by with just black and white thread. Of course you can have more fancy colors if you want to, but it's actually more important to have high quality thread than to have the exact color match. And my opinion is that if you're going to have the absolute minimum, just have a good quality black and a good quality white, and you can do pretty much whatever you want with that. The next one here is a super glue. So I use this most often for repairing shoes, particularly with older dolls. You will find you might take them straight out of the box, never removed from box, and the shoes will fall apart. Sometimes you can't fix them, but quite often it is just the sole that falls off because the glue has degraded over time. So just a tiny little spot of super glue and you will fix everything. Do note, not all super glues are equal. I've got a branded one here, it's not my particular favorite brand, but I have used some cheaper supermarket ones that really didn't do the job. So, you know, trial and error, but we've got that. Also, you don't need any special, multi-use ones. Just clean the end carefully when you finish with it, and you can use that, probably 10 times or more if you're very careful. Next one is just a little thumbtack, something that you can hold comfortably in your hand. This one is important for piercing the doll's ears. So a lot of dolls wear earrings, and even if they're made for it, even if they've got holes, you will find that over time those holes start to close up. So a little thumbtack like this, you can re-pierce the hole and you can slide the earring in. If you're worried that the hole's going to be too big, don't. They start to close up again over time. So pierce the hole, stick the earring in and wait, and all will be well. Last one, very important, is the magic eraser. They can be called magic sponge, and there are a few other names, but most often called the magic eraser. This is a special sponge compound that really is exceptionally good at cleaning dolls' skin. You just dampen it slightly and then scrub, and you can take off all sorts of things. So quite often I will buy a secondhand doll that says it's got marks on it, knowing that 80% of the time those marks are going to come straight off with this. And the seller didn't realize, and you can actually sometimes get a really great deal by just risking those little marks. Of course, sometimes there are marks that have penetrated the vinyl a bit more and they don't come out. But like I say, I reckon 80% of the time they come straight off with this. The other good thing about it, if you have a look here, is that you can just tear off a piece, so you don't need to waste the whole thing. So what I often do is I just grab a little piece like that, dampen it, scrub the doll with it, and then you just throw out that piece, and you can use the remainder of that magic eraser probably 20 or more times if you are careful.